We start out on this new road. No turning back. But we have our ancestors with us. We're gonna continue to dance with them. Dreaming them. Calling them. Being them. We are becoming what we were.
It is part of that Mayan prophecies.
7 triangles of light.
Keep walking. You are the spirit of Unapu. Keep walking. We the human, we are doing the spirit of Unapu.
People who say that the gods made them from corn. They planned their lives according to the heavens. Well-versed in astronomy, using a sophisticated mathematics, they calculated the movements of the night sky thousands of years into the past and thousands of years into the future. They knew that the universe moved in cycles. Their lives were ruled by the rhythms of the natural world. Planting and harvesting, birth and death, just as the great tree of life emerges from the earth.
Always, they're connected. Science and religion.
In dreams, we learn from the Maya gods when to plant and when to harvest, when to set a fire, and when to do the corn ceremony.
What we're digging up, what we're coming up with is part of our history. And the men that lived here are some of the greatest men we've ever had. And it's a fact that we're getting to know more and more and more about the life of these people.
They still maintain their customs. They still maintain their ways of organizing their societies. And it's very exciting to see how much of the ancient Maya way of life is still alive as well.
Because American history does not begin in 1492 with Columbus. It begins in 200 BC with the first Maya king who wrote his name on a stone. What is happening now is the people who made these places, people like Yashpak or Bird Jaguar or Pakal, are getting back their voices. They are becoming real to us and speaking to the people of the 20th century about who built this place and why and what they felt and what they thought about the world. These are not anonymous people anymore.
You are the spirit of Unapu. Keep walking. We the human, we are doing the spirit of Unapu.
Yo, LA natives.
Oh, LA natives.
Welcome back. Shout out to all our new followers, our new subscribers. Shout out to everyone that just purchased tickets to our event June 25th. Much respect. What up, Zero?
Well, I just want to recognize my partner here. She's here. She'll always be here in solidarity. When you decide to have children, what the partner goes through, you go through it with them. And she decided to come on, so I want to recognize Jenny for coming today.
Everybody. Thank you, community.
Jenny, so many people miss you on the podcast.
I know. I miss everybody, too.
We get dozens of DMs talking about, when is Jenny coming back?
Well, I'm always here, you guys. I'm always supporting you guys through the videos and watching everything, and I will always be a supporter to this podcast.
Yes. This is the team here.
Mm-hmm.
We laid some prayers down for this podcast a couple years ago.
Yeah. So recently, some individuals, I don't want to name names because I'm not here to go back and forth with individuals, right? And I have to explain myself for a little bit because a lot of people took my silence as being arrogant or or they took it wrong. They took my silence towards this issue to be wrong. I went on Instagram this morning and I said a message that I completely 100% back. I didn't want to have a social media war with anyone. That's not what this podcast is here for. I understand I'm not a Tongva. I understand that I'm not a Shumash. So someone actually, let me back up a little bit and put a disclaimer before we go any further. That was a good suggestion. Okay. LA natives does not mean the county of Los Angeles natives. It does not mean that. It does not represent any missions who imposed their name onto original peoples of this land. LA natives was a silent prayer in my heart using creative energy that meant lost Aslan natives. Because all of us were seeking an identity. All of us were seeking an indigenous way of living at the age of 18 with no elders and no leadership and no counsel. Sister Jess, I'm sorry that you took the name LA Natives as an attack on your people. It was not derived from that attack. It was not an attack on your people. It was not to erase your people's history and lineage. I did not respond to you because I was on vacation.
Can I actually answer that one,
Sure.
Jessa? You made a false accusation saying that my partner ignored you or the LA podcast ignored the message. But the truth is, we were in ceremony in the desert celebrating our firstborn's life celebration. And we were out of LA for 3 days. And we came back and we have other businesses to run and we have 4 children to take care of. My partner did not ignore the message, and you created a scenario and a assumption that we ignored. And this is where all this energy is coming from. So I'm here to clarify that we did not ignore you. It was literally me that told my partner, stay present. We're doing family time. Literally, that's why I'm here, to represent for family time, to represent that we are representing all families. All families.
And let's not forget what the podcast is all about, right, Zero?
Yeah.
There's no ignoring. There was never an ignoring.
I don't want a social media war with some, because then it leaves it in the hands of people who are into the movement and can be very disrespectful to elders. And I want to apologize on behalf of my fans who were disrespectful to any elders. But I'm not going to treat them and beat them like Spanish priests in a mission. I'm going to try to teach them humility, humbleness, love. Because even though you stripped my grandmother of her lineage, she gave me love.
And love is our medicine.
Yeah. Love is our power right here.
Love is our power. That's the only intention behind this podcast. That's the only intention behind anything that me and my partner create is love. We're not here to harm anybody or to make anybody feel less of. Our people have suffered enough of that. We are here to unite. And all elders, the only teaching I will ever carry with me is we are all one under this great Mother Earth. We are all one under this great Mother Earth we call Pachamama.
Tonantzin.
Mother Tonantzin.
Whatever you call her, it's our planet, it's our experience. And I want to give people a chance to share their opinion because...
And shout out for all the fans out there that are supporting you, Zero. You know, that, I don't know, clearly there's two sides of the fence.
Well, I've been around for 25 years. This is not new. This situation is not new at all. I knew it was coming.
We're 40 episodes in.
We're 40 episodes in.
We've interviewed some of the best well-known indigenous hip-hop artists, because that's what this podcast is about, exposing indigenous hip-hop.
It's creating alliances across borders that were imposed by colonial elites, monarchs, land thieves, rapists, pedophiles. That's what we were doing. That's what LA natives stand for.
I am proud of this podcast. You know,
Well, let me explain a little bit more about what this podcast means. Is that we stripped all colonial reference to anything. So Los Angeles is not what that means. I'll let people feel that, because who am I to be entry level, and I'm from LA and East LA, and whatever ties you have to LA and LA. Well, people have so many. Look at what happened to the Tongvas. They feel like LA is theirs. Don't use the word native and LA together, because it's ours. And it is theirs. But Las Taslan is here too. The orphan kids that were born from raped children, we're here too. I have raped blood in me. It's not my fault. You can't treat me like this orphan that doesn't matter. For 200 years, I cannot explain my history or lineage, because my grandfather, my great-grandfather was so afraid because of the kidnapping that was happening with indigenous people and their children. So he became Christian because his wife died giving birth to one of his children. He was terrified. But as long as he took his family to church, they would stay together. So he erased everything. And that's why I don't know what I know. I don't know anything. All I know is what beats in my heart and what lives in my blood and what comes in my dreams.
And where we were born at.
And where we were born. A very little. Hey, I was born right there in that hospital.
Hospital down the street.
I was born right there. I was born.
Both of us.
3 streets down. I know that you have ancestors that were buried here from the 1600s. But my grandmother's buried in Rose Hills. I'm not minimizing your stuff. I'm just letting you know that I planted seeds here too. And my wife reminded me of something very beautiful. She said, Ruben, your grandmother she planted an avocado tree in front of your family home 45 years ago. You were a 2-year-old baby right in front of that before, when they took that picture, and the tree was just a small tree. I'm 47 years old. That tree is still there in East Los Angeles. Her prayer is still alive. But here's the truth. If she was alive, she would disown me. Because I look the way I look. Because colonial rape and imposition goes deep. She'll disown me. But I have to stay true. I have to still keep walking that 500-year walk back. Our grandfathers, our great-grandfathers, they gave us a promise. Uncle Masatzin told us the light was always on. How come the Aztec stone was always in my face? How come it was always following me? I don't mean anything, especially not erasure of original people of the Los Angeles County Tongvas.
Can you break that down, what that means? Erasure.
To me, erasure means that a city council, a mayor, a governor, somebody with political power decides not to give you federal recognition, state recognition, city recognition, someone who is completely trying to erase you.
We're just a simple family.
I'm not trying to erase anybody. I'm not, and I want to tell the followers and the supporters that if you hear a comment that you don't agree with, please take that frustration into your heart and understand that this may be an elder in front of you. And we have to treat everybody's comment with love and respect. I'm not getting into a social media war with anyone. especially
prayer.
not a person or a woman of color. No, 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 no.
That is not our prayer.
Because people misunderstand comments. People spell words. People forget words when they're typing back. People are entry level understanding of rape and surviving of genocide, where there's other individuals that have commented and said things, have been in this movement for 25 years and do not see the cycle that's being repeated. Every time we try to stand up in the early 90s, early 2000s, we were stopped in our tracks by somebody who was offended. I started thinking, where the fuck do we belong?
And it's not mentioned the children that are still in cages as we speak.
Where the fuck do we belong, man? Or we're not going to piss someone off because we sat down at the table where the Tongvas sat down.
And I want to add this.
I'm sorry, man. I'm not, this is not a battle between that. But I just want to point out colonial division, separation through documentation by an oppressor.
And this is the podcast to express your opinions on that and your concerns. You know, we've been transparent since day one, right, Zero? It's an open platform. It's an open discussion. We invite all of our audience and listeners to join us live.
Yes.
Since day one, right, Zero?
Absolutely.
We have...
I had people tell me, how come you're not following protocol? How come you're not following protocol? What protocol? I've been in this movement for 25 years. I never felt any consistent protocol to anything. Other than people being upset that someone stood up proudly and said that I am this. I had people tell me, don't use the word a hole. Don't use the word a hole. You don't know what it means. Don't use it. That's wrong. We shouldn't be that way with each other. We are family. We are runaway slaves. We're trying to come together to make solutions, because this podcast, it will point you to the direction to mineral diet. It will point you to a spiritual something. It'll give you detailed accounts of the Aztec calendar and the movements and the rhythms that we need to live by. Not once have we ever said, this is not, I know that it has a lot of seriousness into it, but this is a concert and this is a podcast. I'm not running for office. I'm broke as fuck.
And this is a great platform to get exposed to dope indigenous hip-hop artists, right, Zero?
Yeah.
And we're going to expose our brothers and sisters cross borders, not recognizing borders at all. No colonial. This show is about not recognizing any colonial names, counties, municipalities, whatever you fucking want to call it that comes from a paper and a document that is backed by the doctrine of discovery or manifest destiny, I renounce.
Let's go ahead and allow one of our podcast listeners to chime in on this. Like we said in the beginning, it's an open discussion. We sent out the invite. And for anyone that wants to chime in, just add your email to our chat.
Oh, brother.
Yo, yo.
Yo, 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 yo. Oho, Mateo, creator. In a good way.
What's going on?
I welcome you to the program, brother.
Zero,
really
Jen.
Appreciate your support, brother.
We really appreciate your support, brother. We see you.
Thank you. Yeah, you know, this whole thing on social media just blew up like wrong. And for somebody to dialect LA as a representation of their indigenous culture and heritage is wrong. Because you cannot label your ancestry by a name that was set by colonizing settlers. There is no wrong for the representation of who you are. I got called out. And I'm making a stand because, for starters, I'm Sinaku Oyate from Rosebud Reservation, Muskogee Creek from Oklahoma, Mayo from Sinaloa, Mexico, Rincon, from Paula. I share indigenous heritage. I am an LA native. I am a displaced person, but I know where I come from. And for this person to come out and say these things and then turn around and backlash on you and the show and everything, and not taking in consideration what is actually being said and done to unify us as a community, as for spiritual healing and guidance.
Oh.
Because there's a lot of people out there that are not really in tune with our culture and heritage. I get asked, what can I do? What can I learn? Where can I pick up a book at? Who do I talk to? I was like, I'm here. This is a beginning. This is a start. And I talk to them.
How do you
give
feel
them
about that,
points of
Zero?
I feel that I'm glad that individuals have a voice and are sharing it on this platform, and understand that the displacement of indigenous people is a very deep scar. It's kind of like bringing up the subject of Hitler to Jewish people, right? But we had many Hitlers in our land. There's all kinds of them going to different communities all over Turtle Island. It wasn't just one, right? And this gentleman's right here, his explanation and his support, I really appreciate it, brother. I appreciate your words, and if you have anything else to say, please say it. You know, I'm not here to censor anyone, even if you disagree with me.
Hold on. Before, I'm sorry, I should have started by saying Mitakoyase, all my relations, because it's good that we acknowledge each other. There's a lot of conflicting views that people don't want to acknowledge. It's like Washinchus, the white man. They want to claim themselves as being Native Americans because they have so many generations of living here. But in reality, they're not, because their roots are somewhere out in Europe. We're the only people with brown skin, red skin that actually reside here. A lot of these people who claim that are being Tongvan, and I've actually stood in Long Beach City Hall. Where are these people that were trying to protest against when I got called to action for the Los Cerritos wetlands? I had some people come out to City Hall and say, these people who claim they are Tongvans, they're not. We want a call to action against them. Who are these people to stand up against? I was part of a community event where they were sent out a letter saying, we want you to cease and resist, and we're going to hit all your sponsors because what you're doing is not under our guidelines or protocol. You did not ask us to do these on our lands. So I know there's a lot of fake people out there who are taking into consideration the name of Tongva because they're Mexicans wanting to be Native Americans of the United States of America. I acknowledge both all through the Americas because we are actually one. People of brown and red skin. Those are our temples. You know what? Like I said, I'm from South Dakota. Those are my temples too. Those are my people. Because the stories I've heard before from an elder, when the people from the plains, my people, we traveled south. They always used to call us Inju. And then when we would show up down there during our ancestral times, they respected us. Our shared Anika copies, Anipis are the same. We may not, you guys may burn a copal, we may burn sage, but all our shared traditions and culture and everything reside around prayer, ceremony, and conditioning with Mother Earth. And these are the things that a lot of people don't recognize because they're single-celled minded. That all they want to do is just focus on themselves. Well, you can't do this because this is not a representation of us. But then, once again, you can't represent somebody without the legality of who your tribe is. I'm sorry that you know that they are not federally recognized, but we recognize them as a community-based people because these people took in a stand. But yet, still, for one person to stand up like Joan of Arc and get a crowd going and wild up, that's kind of wrong because the protocol behind that should have been elders involved, should have been a leadership involved, but there wasn't. And I could honestly really say, you call me out, I'm gonna stand my ground and I'm gonna speak my words and come with humility and humility because I suffered enough too. I suffered through elementary school being called Indian. Oh, look at me. I've been called that. I'm 40 years old, born and raised in Long Beach, California. I'm an LA native, just like everybody else, just like all the Azteca, Mexica, Maya, Papilla, Guatemalans, everybody. We're all the same. Like I said.
You know what? Thank you for chiming in, bro. Thank you for the support. And this is what our platform is about, right, Zero?
Well, I think he got the concept from day one that it was an inclusive platform that wasn't specific to a specific region of people.
And people have their thoughts and opinions, and that's what matters, right, Zero? And that's what this podcast is all about. It's just
But since day one, you guys, we have always represented Tongva and Chumash land.
Exactly.
Even I even have video of Ruben's last performance at the Mexica New Year, where he was literally singing. Do you remember, Ruben? You were in the middle of your set, and you saw Sister Jessica and her mother, and you shouted them out, literally in the middle of your set, and said, "Hey, we got to represent for the Tongva people right there, because we're in their land, and we thank you for that." So I don't understand where all these false accusations are coming from.
Unfortunately,
Every episode, if you look at every LA podcast episode, you will hear some kind of acknowledgement to the Tongva people.
And we will continue to do so.
Yeah, that doesn't stop. You can't. That's protocol to me. Protocol is never forget that you have individuals that are original and have a relationship with this land. They have no ownership, but they have a relationship with this land that's very deep and well connected, and no one can take that away from you. The more you share your story, the more you gather people to learn the story of the Tongvas and the Chumash, then the more we'll be educated on knowing how to deal with certain situations.
And I wanted to say this, me as a hip hop promoter, if there's any Tongva or Tongva related hip hop that I don't know about, send the email, please submit. I would love to check it out. Let's get you on the podcast. This is a inclusive platform.
Yeah.
It's for everyone. For anyone that's
that.
part of the indigenous hip hop community. There shouldn't be any dividing. Hip hop is bigger than that, guys.
I just don't get the references that I'm a colonizer. I don't get that.
I don't get the false accusations.
Yeah.
You know, I really don't understand that. Where are they coming from?
I've never,
I am considering changing the name to our first annual LA Natives Indigenous Hip Hop Powwow. Because keep in mind, guys, I throw a lot of shows, right? The first 2-3 blog shows were hip hop powwow shows.
Mm-hmm.
No one was up in arms about it.
No.
If anything, people wanted to be a part of it because Underground Hip Hop Blog hosted those events. Our first ones ever back in like 2012, 2013. Mm-hmm. No one was up in arms.
And can we break down powwow, the definition of powwow, Ruben?
It's
the reason why you guys
from-
decided to put that word on your hip hop show?
I've been here for 25 years. ELAC, the community college, they used to put an East LA powwow on. And guess what?
No one was up in arms.
No, they did. Someone was up in arms. How dare you guys from East LA put on a powwow? How dare you? Someone got hurt. Somebody from the communities of whatevers said, you guys have no permission to do this here. And God went away.
But what is the word powwow?
Just a gathering of individuals, a gathering of hearts. From what I see is just you go, you put on your regalia and you dance, and they judge you, and it's a public event. I mean, I see people who are strictly native, and I see people who are not. They just want to go and just see what it's like, and maybe buy a necklace or buy a shirt or support the natives.
And keep in mind, guys, in the world of social media, as an influencer myself, things could get blown way too out of proportion. You might seem like there's a big community out there, but it's not, because the algorithm is there to get you and to get you stuck on that phone. Am I right, guys?
Oh, yeah. Somebody just commented, Jessie disrespected my elder at a aquatic event. She yelled at her and downplayed her knowledge. Again, community, we appreciate your guys' support. My partner has been getting lots of DMs going against this individual, kind of calling her out and stuff. But that's not what we're here for. We are not here to be chismeando and creating rumors. And, we don't want this division between our community at all.
There has never been division on this podcast. We have thousands of listeners on Spotify and Apple Podcast. We have thousands of streams across Twitch and YouTube. Mm-hmm. We're 40, 45 episodes deep between our Sunday shows and our Wednesday shows. Mm-hmm. I work so hard on booking some of the best hip hop talent out there. Mm-hmm. What hip hop outlet out there is putting on for the indigenous hip hop community? Name me one hip hop outlet, guys, out there. Hip Hop DX, Double XL, World Star. Give me those blog posts,
Glad.
please, right now, because this is what I do it for. There is no division in my world.
Yeah.
Hip hop, there is no division. It's all about unity, love.
And it saddens us when we're coming with good intentions and people are not taking it in that way and twisting our intention around, you know?
And we do have a show June 25th, guys. And I want to thank everyone that's been purchasing tickets. And believe it or not, in the last day or so, we've gotten an influx of new ticket buyers coming out to the event and support, man. And it just goes to show the support from our community and our subscriber base, our podcast listeners, the people who watch us on YouTube, all of our subscribers. Twitch, right? It's a different angle for us, right, Zero? Because Twitch is more like for our hardcores, right, Zero? And this community knows exactly.
I want to just clarify though, because people, this is a podcast. What we did on June 25th is a concert. It's not just because we speak on indigenous rights and it's heavy on consciousness or whatever you want to call it or whatever the vibe you think it is. It's not something that I would go and bother any Native council. They would look at me crazy and go, why are you here? You want to name your concert this? And you want our permission for it? I don't. This is a concert that is inviting progressive artists that speak on behalf of indigenous issues. This is not a nonprofit organization that we're going to give money to. This is not that.
And apparently there's someone out there saying that we're profiting off of this event.
Well, it's a $5 show.
It's only covering the costs and expenses. I'm paying all my DJs.
It's a $5 show.
You know, there is no profit to be made at this event.
Who makes profit at $5?
All we're here to do is give you guys a voice. All music artists. My partner has been in this journey for 20-something years. All we're trying to create is a platform to hear and spread your message through hip hop. That's all we're trying to do.
And I'm going to continue my fight. I fight for the unheard.
Yeah.
I fight for the underground hip hop artist that is unheard. Bottom line, plain and simple, I've worked with thousands of artists. I'm not going to say I've worked with hundreds of artists, right, Zero?
Right.
I've worked with thousands of artists, right, Zero?
Yeah. And to me, I felt like, you know, when someone wanted to promote my music, he kept asking me to promote my music. And I said, no, let's promote a community. Let's promote a community of great artists. Azomatli, Jag, Cosmic Force, Frosty, Warm Cloud,
Sub One.
There
isn't a big indigenous hip hop community.
But that's what we're trying to create.
That's,
we're trying to bring light to all these artists.
This is I don't want a social media war with a female and a person of color. I'm not. The reason I didn't reply
or with any elders
on social media, and the reason I didn't make these posts, and the reason I didn't do that is because I knew that levels of people, entry level people anger, medium level people anger, eldership people anger, and they're all going to post and they're all going to misunderstand each other. And some of them may disrespect people who have good hearts. I didn't want to do that. That's why you don't see a post from me like that. I went live and said, I'm doing a show today. Chime in. We can talk. I'm not afraid or did not say anything. And I'm going to be very clear on the mission statement of what this podcast is and what this LA represents. Sovereignty. You have the decision to make what this means. Tungvas, it does not mean, I'm going to be very clear to you. Tungvas, Chumash, original people of this land, it does not mean Los Angeles County natives. It does not mean that. We do not represent the Los Angeles County natives. I'm going to say it one more time. This podcast does not represent the Los Angeles County natives, known as the Tungvas and the Chumashes. We do not represent them. We do not. Absolutely not. We do not represent the missions of the Gabrielinos. No, we do not. We do not represent the mission of the Fernandinos. No, we do not. We do not represent Los Niños de Los Angeles. We do not. Why? Because those are orphaned names. Those are children whose parents were murdered, raped, discredited, human trafficked. I just want to be clear. Are we clear? We're clear.
We have a few comments again.
For all of our new podcast listeners and viewers, keep in mind. For all of our new podcast viewers and listeners, thank you for joining this humble podcast. We've been live since day one, right? None of it's pre-recorded, right, Zero?
No.
Nothing at all. And again, we have a lot of, comments on backlashing on the sister Jessie, but, again, we're not trying to promote that, We are just trying to have clarity.
So let me be clear on that too. Guys, let's not be, look, it's going to take a strong warrior to get through this. I've been through this before, maybe in a past life. Look, I named this event Battle of Little Bighorn. Okay? The Battle of Bighorn, people wanted Sitting Bull and Crazy Horse to surrender to go to the reservations. They were asking them to comply. They said, no, we're going to have one more battle and we're going to win. And they did. But not everybody was in consensus. People wanted the murdering and the raping and the stealing of children to be over. And they felt like if they went into reservations that would happen. And that's not what happened. But our elders said, one more fight, just to show you that we can win. Battle of Little Bighorn. That's why we made that event. And then we invited people like Keys from Oklahoma, and we invited other people from other different regions. Artson.
Such an amazing artist. I can't wait to see him perform live.
We did Artson.
I've been dying to see him rock live.
People are coming from Northern California.
People are flying into the event.
Like,
to support indigenous hip hop from all aspects of life.
And look, just as this is a concert and this is a podcast, and this all is not free. And I'm not saying that. It's just I can't snap my fingers and tomorrow it's going to change. I'm broke as fuck, man. And I take the time here to tell my people that I love them. There's better ways of diet. There's better solutions. Be aware of who's trying to manipulate you. Learn the Aztec calendars and energies. Understand that you come from a people who observed this continent for 26,000 years. Rights to everyone. Remember that you're on Chumash land and Tungva land. That's what I'm doing. I don't have a Beamer, man. I used to, but that is over for me. I'm not a capitalist no more. I'm just a man trying the best I can to awaken the lost souls of Aslan. That's it.
Since day one.
Well,
since for the past 25 years.
Yeah, it's been
in your historical hip-hop catalog.
Hector Rulas, we represent something far more ancient. We are the children of Anahuac.
Oh.
Shout out to everyone in the chat.
She has a history of disrespecting. Again, I don't even want to read those.
Again,
there's a lot of bad talk on the sister. And again, that's not what I'm trying to promote here.
Let's send her love.
Yeah.
Let's send her love and healing. Let's send her a good vibe. Send her a good message. Send her a message that says, hey, sis, I understand your pain. And I hope Zero makes a good decision when it comes to this podcast. How about sending her that message?
Me, honestly, guys, I'm all about positivity and unity, especially in the hip hop industry. Mm-hmm. I respect all artists. And it would have been nice if she reached out and said, yo, like, can I rock this event?
To represent for her.
Right. I would have listened to her music and I would have approved it and let her rock. Like, I would love to meet her.
That's
my goal. And I'm one of the biggest hip hop promoters out here, and all I do is try to promote dope hip hop, guys.
Somebody's asking if we should invite her or we.
We've invited
no,
her
no,
plenty
wait.
of times.
Somebody was asking if we should invite her. So let's clarify that. We've been inviting her since day one, or not to the podcast, but ever since the scenario happened, we've been reaching out to her. Unfortunately, she's doing a selective posting, so she doesn't share the messages that we've sent to her to welcome her to the podcast and share her voice and share the history behind her people. And again, we open this podcast to everybody every Wednesday. That's what the Wednesday podcast is for.
Yeah.
It's an open discussion to share your message.
I have to be honest with you guys, and I have to be truthful. I was completely shocked. I'm not lying. On 2019, when I played at the Regent Theater, I looked into the crowd and I saw her and her mom. And I stopped my set. And I said, everyone in this building, please acknowledge Jess and her grandmother. These are original Tongvas of this land. Thank you for letting us be here. That's at my show at the Regent Theater.
I think every show.
Almost anytime I see her.
Disrespect.
Anytime I see her, I say that, even if I'm stage or if I'm on this. That's why I'm shocked. I don't get why you're attacking or feeling like I'm erasing you.
So, again, we have another guest.
Yeah.
We have our homie Heron. Let's go ahead and bring him in.
Oh, what up? What up, Heron?
Hey, what's up?
How you doing, brother?
Thank you, Heron, for coming on the podcast and accepting our invite.
And all your
thank
support
you,
on
brother.
social media too. We appreciate that.
Thank you. Well, I'm part of United Brown Coalition, and part of our mission statement is to unite all brown people. And when we're thinking of the name, there was other names we were thinking of, but again, there's this whole fight between our people, right, of identity. Are we Latino? Are we Hispanic? Are we Indios? Are we Native? Are we Indigenous? Are we Mexicanos? And we're like, what's one thing that so far no one really fights about? And that was brown skin, because a lot of us predominantly are brown skinned. We have one shade of brown, right? Like either it be very light due to colonialism or due to northern natives that are lighter, or we're really dark due to, again, some of the mixing that has happened with our Afro brothers and sisters, or due to people coming closer to the equator, which are darker skinned people. So brown is something that united us, and it's been a fight that we've seen in many different, I want to say, in different communities and subcultures, right? We see the homies sometimes not getting along with the border brothers, as they're known, and that's dividing Chicanos with Mexicans, also known as Paisas. But there's this new unity call, just like there was 70s when the Chicano people were rising up, the Chicano moratorium was rising up, the brown berets were rising up. And there's this new wave of unity and indigenous decolonization happening. So part of my mission is to just find ways to unite all people. Now, last year we threw a major rally in Los Angeles for the kids in cages. Now, right away, we had a lot of people tell us, no, you can't do this without permission. Right now, it's all about Black Lives Matter. You can't step on their toes. And again, we're not stepping on nobody's toes, but there's kids in cages right now, and they need attention as well. And we're going to do this because I don't think in the 70s, the Brown Berets were like asking permission from the Black Panthers so they can gather and organize. And I don't think AIM, which is the Indian Indian American movement, I don't think they were asking permission, but rather they were coming together. They were coming together, and you would see AIM join Black Panthers, and you would see Black Panthers join the brothers over there in Chicago, which are the Puerto Rican brothers. They were the Young Lords. And you saw this big call for unity, right? So why has it been so hard since then for us to unite under one? And I do think it has to do with the infiltration of the government, with the FBI opening up special cases and files to divide us more and more. And we see the result of that today. We see the xenophobia of people including those who identify as Native American, because they separate themselves from the native indigenous people south of the border. That's why they claim Native American, because American to some means United States. Although even within the colonial identity and colonial definition, America is all the way to South America.
There it
But-
is. You know, so a response, Zero.
Our community has been so displaced. I'm going to just reiterate the fact that I've seen this before many times, Heron. How we have to be so critical of what name we're choosing, what mission we're picking, and this eldership is rooted in Christianity, right? Because a lot of these people come from juvenile hall, if you're Mexican, residential schools, if you're Native American. There's all kinds of things that make us fight each other. And it's all based on a language that was imposed on us by invaders and colonizers, rapists, pedophiles, and molesters. That's why we have to walk with eggshells on every single turn that we have, right? When your intention is just to pay attention to the children that are suffering right now at this moment in this time. This is white supremacy, but not a white supremacist official, president, mayor. This is the virus and sickness of white supremacy.
I agree, and I'll add to that. Part of my journey, my healing journey, because at first I was really angry at the white man, but I've learned that, through my experience in life, we've had enemies that look just like me, or I've had enemies that are in the Black community or in the Asian community. So then I started acknowledging it's not really the race of the person, but rather the indoctrination and the conditioning of white assimilation within the brothers and sisters.
Yeah,
so
because we're afraid to let go of the church. We're afraid to let go of institutions of education. We're afraid to people go and graduate from college and go, my ancestors are so proud, when they're indoctrinated by something that was invented by the Rockefellers and the Carnegies over Standard Oil and the introduction of pharmaceuticals. I have to point out the truth, Heron. I'm not going to sit here and go, I'm going to walk on eggshells and not say these things because it's going to offend people. I'm not offending your education. Go educate yourself. Go contribute to this horrific treatment of displaced indigenous individuals.
And there's two. I want to shine in on that. I agree. And there's two ways we can look at truth, right? I forgot what philosopher said this, but I know I read it somewhere. There's a truth, like your own truth. There's your personal truth that no one can tell you otherwise, and that's your truth. Like you identify as Native, no one can tell you otherwise. That's your truth, right? And so it is becoming my truth. And then there's a universal truth, like indoctrination is universal truth. That has happened. You cannot say no to that. Colonization is universal truth. That has happened. It's documented. So there's universal truth, and then there's personal truth. The universal truth is something that people cannot really dispute, but for some reason they want to dispute personal truth a lot, and that's because that one's easier to pick on. But when we are picking and disputing on personal truth, what lens are we doing it through? Are we doing it through the universal truth of colonization, indoctrination, and conditioning? Or are we doing it from an individual truth of decolonizing and looking at it from a Native indigenous point of view, and also letting ego to the side, right? Because ego is a whole other conversation, and not being egotistical. So
somebody sent me a post on exactly your topic and how you're explaining it. But it was a specific video done by somebody in a university, and one of the followers of our podcast said, when the conversation starts to become using words like erasure, indoctrination, things of educated degrees of thought, then you're becoming racist towards the person you're addressing it to, because that comes from a higher education. and not peasant education that they give us in public schools and community colleges. They're not at that level of thinking or processing or reading. So when you start to become a conversation of intellectual words, you're being racist towards the person that maybe doesn't have that education just yet, right? It doesn't mean he's not smart or he can't defend himself. It just means he didn't go to college like you did, or he didn't do a couple semesters at a community college or read certain books. I'm dyslexic. It takes me 7 hours to read a book, but I read it because I have to have opinions. I have to have, this is my platform to voice my opinion. So I hope that in unity with what you do, know that LA Natives is going to continue to have a sovereign stance and try to point people in the directions of good people like yourself and Jessica. Jessica's doing good work. I've never said not once that she has not done good work.
I appreciate that. And to for any disclaimer, I am not choosing sides because I would rather have a sit down with both of you, as you know, and come to a conclusion, a solution, find common ground. Because I believe that we can always find common ground.
Absolutely.
That's something I learned in 2016 as I was working in Ohio with the reddest and the most racist people I've ever come across, and I found common ground with them. So if I could find common ground with the direct enemy, I'm sure our people can find common ground. And I want to also acknowledge, I see both views. I see your view and I resonate and I relate to your view. And I also see her view and her people's view. And I'm sure there's something we can both agree on. And I like that you broke down the definition of LA and what LA stands for, because I will admit, when I first heard of LA Natives and I hadn't met you yet, just having the word natives associated with LA, I was thinking, is this a podcast by the Tongva people? That, you know, they're, and then I was confused. And I'm like, no, but why would they call it LA natives? Then that would be contradictory to their decolonization, right? So then I watched in, and then I learned, oh no, it has nothing to do with them. I'm like, oh, it's more with hip hop. All right, cool. And right now, when you broke down the whole definition of LA natives, how it's Las Aslan, I was like, yo, like, I understand now, because there's degrees to decolonizing. And one of the reasons that I didn't even feel associated with LA natives right off the back is because of the displacement. It's because we don't really have a homeland that we can say this is our, you know, obviously the whole continent is our homeland, but we don't have a remote homeland. And I think that others do have the privilege when they know where they come from, when they are in their ancestral homeland. And even if they're not in their ancestral homeland, say they're Perepocha or any other nation, but they know that they come from there. That's a privilege that some of us don't have. Like, I could only imagine and guess where my grandfather comes from, which is the one that carries the heavy native blood in his blood. But all he can tell me is that he's a campesino. His grandfather was a campesino, and that's all he knows. And that campesinos is people of the land. And through Matsatzin, I've learned, yo, he's telling you right there, he's native. They didn't care so much for the tribe or the nation, because they just know that they're people of the land, and that's all he can tell you. And to me, that was like a closure moment. Like, all right, so to me, that was like a validation. I'm native, but why do we have to have this validation through words and through entitlements, when we can just feel it in our heart, and we could feel it in our mind and our thoughts?
That's a good point.
And that's how I thought, Heron, especially, you know, I feel like that's not an exclusive name, you know, and Heron, and you know my intention, bro. I've met you, like, you're one of the most realest dudes I've ever met, bro. And you know my intention. I like to promote good hip hop. And that's what this podcast was all about. And I'm so happy that you mentioned hip hop, because hip hop is not about dividing. It's all about unifying.
We have somebody, Shumash like Queen. She wants to come on. And she's saying, because it's about respecting the people whose land you are in. 100%.
Yeah,
we respect it on every podcast.
Get her
and
email
we respect
and put
it
her
when
on.
my partner plays, and we respect it when we pray. We respect it, and that's why I'm here, because unfortunately, the sister is creating false accusations, saying that we're being disrespectful, and that's not our elders' teachings at all. We respect the land, and we respect the people that are from this land.
So
And our elders are not on social media, so unfortunately we have to discuss these things.
Absolutely. Put her on. Send your email to the chat. Armando will send you a link and you can come on. This is not selective, picking, put on the chat. The chat is live. There's nothing, I can't hide anything or erase anything on this chat. So
And thank
if
you,
you are,
Heron, and thank you,
Thank you.
Heron,
Yes.
for supporting the podcast and
Sharing your
understanding
words.
the foundation of this podcast. And
before Heron goes, Heron, do you know about Blythe, California?
About what?
Blythe, California?
No, I do not.
Okay, well, in Blythe, California, there are humongous petroglyphs that are by the Colorado River.
Which we call La Cuna de Aslan.
It's called the Cuna Aslan because during the journey from Aslan, as they followed the Colorado River down, they settled in Blythe, California for 100 years and left petroglyphs because they saw older petroglyphs there. They were there for 30,000 to 15,000 years.
Everybody research Blythe,
California.
B.
There's a reason why we come back
L-Y-T-H-E.
here. It's not just because. There's a reason why we come back.
I do know that the Aztecs used some of the water from the Colorado River through the Nevada mountains, and they were the great inventors of the long-running aqueducts. That you could find that even on the Colonizers channel on the National Geographic.
Blythe, California. Blythe, California. Blythe.
All right, and before I go, I just want to say I do support. Again, I support both sides, and I think there's been a big confusion and conflict within maybe assumption of stepping on each other's toes. And Jessa did join us in the very first rally and protest that we had a year ago for freeing our kids from cages. And you are a great inspiration for those that are looking for a homeland and are looking for a place where we can further decolonize and further understand our own journey of decolonization. So I support and I appreciate both of you, and I just hope we can be respectful to one another.
I support, and
let him finish.
I've always supported her. There's not been a time where I haven't supported her. That's why I'm confused about this head on. So
I think it's just a big misunderstanding of maybe sometimes good intentions could be put out there, but they at the same time they can also be harmful and they can be traumatizing to whoever it may affect differently. And that's all. I think that's all this is about. That even though it is good intentions, for some it may be taken a different way. Just like kids in cages, some may think that Kamala Harris had a good point in telling the people not to come, but for others that's traumatizing, and that's for me as someone who was brought over the river, that is traumatizing. That's like my 30 something years ago. And so to me, about finding dialogue with one another. But again, I would like to tell for the people in the comments not to blow this up even more than what it already has, and be respectful to one another.
Well, Heron, the reason I didn't reply to her on social media, or I didn't do a post of defense on social media, is because I didn't want a social media war. I knew that people were at certain levels, and people were going to have opinions about your opinion and their opinion about her opinion, and then her opinion about the other opinion, and then people are going to just go back and forth.
And
I didn't want a social media war. I'm going to make that very clear. I did not ignore you, Jess. I just did not want a social media war.
And
I don't want misinterpretations of texts, and you know how that is. I have nothing to hide. I'm here on my podcast explaining everything. I've never ever shied away from anything. So I just want to make that clear.
And we appreciate all of you.
Thank you for having me on.
Thank you, Heron.
Thank you, Heron.
Thank you.
Right, Zero? So the show must go on. June 25th at the Catch One, 8 p.m. to 1 a.m. Make sure you grab your tickets. We have an amazing lineup, an amazing performance from Zero of El Vuh, right?
I am a hip hop artist. I'm not a non-prop organizer. I do not represent the Los Angeles County natives.
To get their DM.
By no means am I saying that this logo or those letters put together represent the displaced Tongvas and Los Angeles County natives. That does not represent that. But it's a hard thing to deal with. Someone else wants to come in?
Yeah, I'm going to go ahead and follow up on the Instagram. Shout out to all of our new followers in the last few days. Much love and respect to you.
What does that say? What are they saying?
Okay. Mari Huarache is a big mitote. O Rebelinko, how is it that somebody is offering you tobacco to speak to you in a good, humble way? How is offering tobacco to be able to talk to you? Well, again, traditionally we use tobacco to send off our prayers and stuff, but it's a good offering. Every culture is different. But
I don't understand that one, but okay. I know that offering tobacco is a good thing, and I know she offered tobacco, but she didn't let me respond. I was kind of shocked that she's even saying anything about it. But
and again, we did reply back to her and said that we're willing to sit down with her, and then at that point, she wasn't making herself available. So,
and I want to reiterate, all those individuals that are supporting our podcast, please do not be hurtful towards her. Please do not. Do not. It's not good. Send her a positive message. Send her, we support you and we feel your pain. That's what I want you to send them. I want you to send her love. Even if they're telling us to get the hell out because we're wearing chanclas and our parents aren't here and we're no orphans, and how dare you sit at the Tongva table at the Gabrielino mission. Send her love. I'm sending her love.
I'm so proud of this podcast to even create this dialogue. I don't know of any other podcast that provides this type of content right now.
And where's the positivity at? Like, aren't we already living in a world of so much negativity all around us? And do we really need to have this conflict between our own gente? You know, again, this podcast is a great podcast. It's a great foundation for all natives. Why not be supportive of that? We have, less than 2,000 followers? It's not like we have 50,000 followers and we're, renting out the Rose Bowl and stuff, you know? This is a small community prayer. Please don't attack us for this.
Like I said, we have thousands of streams on Spotify, iTunes, Apple Podcast, hundreds of subscribers throughout Twitch and YouTube, thousands of streams on YouTube and Twitch. And shout out to all y'all. Just, I do it for you.
I
take a lot of time out of my day
to know that
to do this for you guys, and it's only motivating me to do it more.
Yeah, me too. I mean, I didn't expect this, but it is what it is, and we're on the same team. We have the same intention, and I don't understand where this is coming from, because I'm 40 episodes in. This is not my first or second podcast. I've always shouted out that this is Tongva and Chumash land. I understand your hurt, and I'm really contemplating on changing the name. But I'm going to let a lot of people down. I'm going to let all those people that felt like, yeah, I'm associated with whatever that L stands for and whatever that A stands for. It's my own sovereign decision on what that means. That's what I wanted.
Oh.
That L right there represents whatever you want. That A represents whatever you want. But we're all natives.
And this show, June 25th, coming up, is all about healing. You only heal through music, in my opinion.
Well, everybody has different ways of healing, but definitely music is a form of healing, for sure.
We have to become sovereign individuals that have ties with communities that we call certain communities, right? But we can't be divisive because we were privileged to be in that circle where we got the names. We can't be privileged to say, you got to step out of this circle, because you're not.
I'm loving the chat, you guys. Loving the chat.
Appreciate all the support.
Yeah, appreciate it.
It's been a good little show. There's a lot to soak in, and there's a lot to talk about, right, Zero? But Absolutely. We're going to continue to move forward with the podcast and move forward with this event. I'm actually considering changing the name of the event, just out of respect of, the negativity that's going around. I've never put out any negativity on my end. I don't believe in that. It's all about unity in hip hop. That's how I see it.
Zarpana, it's your intellectual property. Hector Rulas, raise some kids, it humbles the soul. Ain't that the truth? We are LA natives, hashtag.
And guys, for everyone that's, making an assumption or opinion about his podcast just because of this situation that's going down, just go into our archives and listen or watch these episodes. That's all I ask, guys. For all of our new listeners and viewers tuning in, check out the archive and let us know what you guys think.
Yeah, because that's not where I'm an artist. I've conceptualized my art for a long time, 25 years. Lost Aslan is not new. I'm not making it up to cover up something. It's not that. Everything I brought into this podcast has been referred to an Aslan reference, a Mexica, Azteca reference.
Shout out to Matazin.
Tell me if I have not. If I have not done anything to reference Tungvar Shumash as in I represent them through this logo. I don't do that. I wouldn't do that. I'm trying to create a sovereign thought process to a community that could take whatever that L means. You could take it and put it whatever. It could mean loser. And the A can mean asshole. But we're natives. You see how it works?
Emilio, no pistolas. I vote for no change of the name. Hashtag LA natives. We appreciate everybody that's on the feed right now. People are saying that they've been enjoying our podcast, enjoying what you're talking about.
We have to regain our sovereign perspective, breaking colonial perspective. What is colonial perspective? Colonial perspective is tying yourself to documents issued by officials who are given power by militaries and democratic structures, which are based on a document that was given by Pope Nicholas II called Adum de Versailles, which is the doctrine of discovery, which gave colonizers the right to take your land because you were not a Christian and because you were of a different color and of a different skin. This show represents fuck all of you guys that did that.
That's okay?
100.
Don't rephrase the words.
That's
don't
100.
change it up.
Yeah.
We're not saying fuck the original people.
No.
We're
That's
saying
100.
is exactly what he said.
So, guys, this Wednesday,
Be sovereign. Be
this
sovereign.
Wednesday, we have some very special guests coming up. It's our Warrior Think Tank open discussion Wednesdays.
Yeah. We're gonna let this marinate. I'm gonna let this show marinate for a little bit. I'm gonna I want people to I want to read a few more comments and let people have a voice.
Queen.
What happened to the Shumash person that wanted to come on?
I'm checking the DMs. It's so unorganized.
Yeah.
It's just we're getting DM'd left and right.
Uh-huh.
People trying to chime in, and the best way is to email us.
Yeah,
our
1491
Wednesday
actually said it.
shows.
Put it up on the.
Yeah,
Put it up on your.
It's LA Natives Podcast at gmail.com. Again, LA Natives Podcast at gmail.com. Just simply email us. Our Wednesday shows are more for open discussions.
Can you type the email onto the chat so that if a person can't see or have trouble typing shit, they can copy and paste it.
We're not censoring nothing.
I
Everybody
want
has a voice
everyone to have a voice, and this eldership has the right to say what they need to say, and so we're typing that. So if you can copy and paste that and give us your link, and again, I want to thank my partner for being here by my side and know that I'm just a humble man. I'm not trying to be a leadership of anything, and she'll be the first one to tell me that that's not true. You know what I mean? Like calm yourself down. You're not a leader of anything. That's my partner, because it's true. I'm not. I'm just contributing to my family. I'm contributing to this movement. I'm contributing to the knowledge that maybe you don't have about mineral foods, about the true history of Catholicism, of religion, of all these things that we denounce. because they're colonized in positions by monarchs, elites, land thieves, human traffickers, molesters, rapists, liars, who wrote 500 treaties and broke every single one of them.
So Shumash has said that she sent an email.
Sent the email.
Let's go ahead and.
Orebilinko, she dresses up like a chola. We've gotten a lot of DMs. We're not trying to talk bad about Sister Jess at all.
Again, I want to tell my community to switch the energy to compassion and wisdom. Use the 26,000 years of observation that run through your blood. Use the long walk that your ancestors took to get to the place of origin. Use that medicine, use that will to share nothing but positive energy towards anybody who feels hurt about this.
So I went ahead and sent the link. If you could do me a favor before we wrap up this episode, check your email and join the discussion for a little bit.
Absolutely.
Again, everyone in the chat, we really want to thank you guys for
the
joining.
chat is lit. Edison, my people's from El Salvador. I can't tell you what tribe they originated from. I can't talk the original language, but I do know I'm connected. The shape of my nose, the color of my skin, the way my soul starts rocking when I hear drums knocking. I'm indigenous. I feel that shit running through my blood. I was born in LA. And Chicanonism, introduction, what does it say? Introduce me to my indigenous culture.
Oh.
I actually had a discussion with my mother today as well, too. And she said, Mija, what's wrong with you? And I said, I'm going to go to my partner's podcast today and support him. And I shared with her what was happening. And my mom was in shock. She's like, what is this person talking about? I've struggled all my life to give you guys a life in Los Angeles.
Yo, we see you in the waiting room. Let's go ahead and
who is this?
Bring this guest in.
And that's just the Shumash elder.
Okay. Yeah.
Oh.
Hello. Welcome to the LA News podcast.
Representative.
Haku, Machimawish, can you hear me?
Yes, absolutely.
Do you hear us?
Yes.
Okay, let me go ahead and get your levels up, and I think you should be good to go.
So again, Haku, Mapchumawish, Castro, Hi Alashao, Mola Kakti, Shmuet, Shino, Kup Kipti Papawil, Hi Hulapshan, Kuhku, Shmuet, Kuhku, Tongva, Tataviam, Kikuku, Ki Ushkal. Our people are strong. Ki Aklu, Ki Tipapawil, Ki Aklu. We speak our languages. Ki Lekin, Hi Kishup. We live on our land. Haku, Mepchumawish, hello. My name here is Chumash Linguist. My name is Mora, and I study our languages. It's something that I've been doing the last 10 years. And so I'm sorry that you thought I was an elder. I'm not an elder. I'm in our community, this awkward age between being a youth and being an elder.
Well, you are a future elder.
Right. And part of that also is the destruction, the interruption of our traditional roles that you've spoken on through the mission system and the California period. And I came here today. I've been watching the social media, the back and forth. Like you said, you had not wanted this to become a social media war. And I think that, I appreciate that. I see you burning our sacred medicines. And I watched your video that you posted earlier. I'm sorry, what is your name?
My name's Zero.
I watched your video earlier and I saw your own pain of your own story, your own, journey of your indigeneity. And And I just come here to just to tell our story, a little bit more of our story as Chumash people. Our territory goes down into what is now Los Angeles. And so from a personal perspective, the LA natives idea and folks saying that they're LA native, and people do this all over. People do this. They say, they're Colorado native. They say they're California native. And so what my friend Jessa is trying to elevate and point out, I can't see the comments now, but I know a lot of people, and a former guest, Eron, was saying, and you were commenting on using big words like erasure, and that makes me sad because I don't know how else to talk about our experience, because now I feel really self-conscious, like I can't express myself because I'll be basically dismissed.
Wait.
Well,
Can I
this
bother 1 second? No, I'm gonna interrupt you. Look, this LA Natives has always been a platform where you could say whatever you need to say, even if you disagree with me. I've had Christian individuals come on and say I believe in Jesus Christ, and I have to say, you know what, I respect your decision in whatever faith you take, but I don't want you to censor yourself, especially you. You need to speak your truth, and this is the platform to do it. And even if it's making me
Or anybody.
or if you need to correct me, I'm humble enough to take the correction live in front of everyone. I'm humbling myself to you and your people because I've always done that. So please do not censor yourself. I said that because one of my followers are trying to defend me because they understand my situation of 200 years of erasement. I cannot tell you what you opened up your talk with. My grandfather was terrified of saying that they were natives because they were taking the children from the native people. And they were afraid, he was afraid that they were going to take his children away from him because his wife died during birth. So he erased all of us forever. And now, 40, 60 years down the road, I come out. And my grandma will look me in my face and tell me, please cut your hair, please remove those tattoos, and please come to church with me. There's a reason why I named myself Zero. I don't have to explain it. I think it's pretty clear why I'm Zero. Because I have zero story of my history. I have zero information about my past. I have zero connection. But the zero was what the Mayas invented. So I took strength in it. So please do not censor yourself. Please tell your story here. You're free. And people in the crowd, please be respectful to people. Please.
Yes, we have a few minutes left, and feel free to say what you need to say. Like Zero says, this platform is for you.
Kia kanalin. Sutikem. Kay ush ish. Hiki papawil. Ite. Ki kalikil shup. Ki kalikil o. Ki kalikil kuhku shmoch. Ke ush ish means I'm not happy. Ush ish is this beautiful word. It means to be happy. And so I came here to, I also actually did not want to come on here. But I heard you guys saying, you wanted to make a platform. I think a few people in the comments as well expressed, the social media era, and, we don't need to be tearing each other down. And Jessa carries a lot as an indigenous woman, as a mother, as a Tongva and Chumash woman. So that's where we connect as Chumash women. We have been together through being paddlers in our community of our Tomo. And a lot of times she is the one going out there. And it's hard and it's a lot of emotional labor. And I came here to stand in solidarity with her so that she does this with such grace. She makes these videos and she educates folks on a lot of different topics, and I'm hearing different things that you've reached out to her and that you tried to handle it offline, and I think however way it was brought up, we're here now. And language is a funny thing, and so you're saying that you want anyone to interpret LA to mean whatever they want, but for many people it means Los Angeles. And so us as Native people of this area, when we see LA natives, that's what I'm hearing, and that's why I'm trying to support my Tongva sister in this.
Absolutely.
And so that's where, and like you said, you want to sit on this and have this be a conversation, but it's a larger issue that people in the greater LA area, they participate in erasure, whether it's intentional or not, by not, inviting us to events or bringing us on to like collab with them on events. I mean, there's a lot of things, ways that we are erased. I'm not part of the hip hop community. I'm a musician in like folk and punk communities, so I understand music and DIY from that point of view. But the bottom line is, and it's really uncomfortable for us to constantly be reminding people that how to be a good guest. And so that's what Jessa is like graciously, and you can agree or disagree with how she brought it up. She's asking for folks to remember how to be a guest on her land. Someone talked about that the elders should be doing this. I said in the comments, a lot of our elders are not on social media, as well as, like you said, it is our role as like the young / middle old people to be fighting these battles so that our elders don't have to experience, because our elders, our communities are really traumatized. And so the constant erasure, what I see as the solution would be that you guys use your platform, and whether that means you change the name or not, the point is, how are we being in community with our Tongva people? Because even when I go to LA, like, I'm a guest, so I think
And I
being a
really
guest.
appreciate, you know what? I really appreciate you jumping on this podcast. It means so much to us.
Yeah, I thank you for your words. I mean, I can always start off my show saying that Los Angeles, LA, or I could create a new logo and put Lost Aslan natives. That's very clear. I didn't want to alienate anybody because I know once I put the word Aslan, people right away, okay, well, that's not me. I just wanted to leave the decision to be sovereign, for people to decide whatever it is, whatever that is. I just put these letters together. I understand and I apologize to you that I didn't realize it came with so much pain to you.
Well, and I
Or
think
your
it goes,
people, or your
yeah, and I
people, or
think it
your
goes,
elders,
right.
or
I
your
think it
elders.
goes to Jessa. And I know you said on Wednesdays you have a larger spot, a longer time. I think so. You should ask her, and I would love to come back on because there's a lot more.
We did ask her sister. We offered the Wednesday podcast to her.
That's great.
We reached out to her, and that's what
That's
I'm here
great.
for, because she's not.
Yeah, and I think it's
She's
also just
censoring.
about.
She's censoring the certain messages, so she's not sharing that we reached out to her. She's not sharing that we didn't ignore it, and Yeah, we reached out to her. We gave her this Wednesday's episode, and she said no.
Right. And I think the other thing is the big thing that I've learned in being an organizer in my community is like time is respect in our communities. And I know things happen fast on social, but like, she's a young mom and she does a lot for our community. And so I just want to make sure people in the comments, like, trying to talk shit about her, like,
No.
No,
I have
that's
you
not
have my
good.
word. You have
Yeah.
my word. You have my word.
That's
You have my
exactly what
word.
I'm here for. I'm here to represent and calm the energy down. I am not about creating division or talking bad about any sister whatsoever. Like I said, we've been getting a lot of DMs. People literally redoing her video, putting a clown face on her. We're not resharing any of that because that's not what we're trying to promote. So again, we're encouraging everybody. We understand that she's a single mother. You know, again, I'm in this field. I'm a traditional partera myself. I guide families into this world. I understand her struggles, but I think her accusations and her wording was a little bit harsh because it wasn't ignoring at all. And that's where the Women Nation started coming in and kind of somewhat attacking my partner, you know, and oh, you're ignoring a woman. You're ignoring a woman. Let her voice be heard.
I
We
just
are
want to
letting
make
her
it,
voice be heard. She's just not sharing that with you guys, and that's where I question that. Why are you doing that?
and the reason I did that, sister, the reason I did that is because I didn't want a social media war. I don't want people at different levels of consciousness to have opinions about very serious traumatic things. I knew that there would be a better way. I can explain it to Jess and she would understand. I'm confused. I don't understand. I've been fighting the same fight. I'm not different. For 25 years, since the minute I started putting my name on records, I'm an artist. I'm not an organizer. I'm not a community organizer. I don't create events. This is a concert at a professional venue. This is not a ceremony.
Yeah,
If it was, the first person I would reach out to is Jess.
To give us that blessing, but we're just a podcast and a concert. You know, you mentioned something about getting invited. What did you mean by that? Like she felt that we didn't invite her, or
No, I think that comment was like in general when folks do events in LA. So I don't know the specifics. And so I apologize for kind of coming in. I've just been following today.
Yes.
I
And I
think
really
that
appreciate that. I really appreciate you following up with this and being on our show. And
know that we
think
had 40
overall,
episodes, though.
Let
We've
her
had
finish.
40 episodes.
Let her finish, you guys. Go
yeah,
ahead.
I think overall, I will say I did see LA Natives podcast come up. You know, I've kind of seen some things here and there. And I guess I do kind of think like, you said to speak freely. And so I think that if there aren't any like Tongva or Chumash or Tataviam, and I don't know everyone who's involved in the show, but like that does feel weird to me that it's called LA Natives and that there's no, like, so is there no Tongva, Chumash, or Tataviam folks in your podcast?
No.
No, we're not.
No.
Yeah, so I just think that that's like, that makes me wonder. And so
It's
again,
a
like you
creative
said,
though. It was a creative name. It wasn't a
That was with
name
the
that
assumption
was
that we're calling ourselves LA natives.
It was
we're
a
calling
creative
ourselves
name.
Last Aslan natives.
And if you look at the episodes, if you go from episode 1 to episode 40, you will realize that I'm denouncing any colonial reference. Any colonial reference. And if I use Los Angeles, that would be a colonial reference because settlers came and named the city Los Angeles. I had to be rebellious from 1999 to the year 2021. If you look at my whole history of 20 years of music, you will know that I'm denouncing colonial names. And I'm not lying when I said that the L meant lost and A meant Aslan to me.
Somebody put a great comment. It said, sure you just missed it. Mando, put it back.
yeah, I can't see the comments either, so I don't know.
We have jobs. Blue Beat Frank. We all have jobs. We all have kids. We all have traumas. We have vices. Don't let that be an excuse to trample on someone else's life, work, and passion. And that's really where we're coming from, sister. You know, again, we didn't have the intentions of LA natives at all. We have the intentions of Lost Aslan natives. And for somebody to make us feel, for somebody to make us feel like, whoa, we did something wrong. It's just, again, I think the main thing that went viral here is the fact that she kept on saying we ignored her. We ignored. And that's the DMs that we're getting from all these CWATs. Oh my gosh, she's a woman. You guys need to give her her voice. Need to give her her voice. Again, I'm the one that clarified it. I'm the one that told my partner, don't reply back to her. We were in a family ceremony. We needed to stay grounded during that time. And then she twisted that and said we ignored it. That's not right. She never gave us a time or a platform to share our truth or to even share anything before she created that video.
Because I knew that people at different levels of consciousness, different levels of respect, were going to chime in and be bad. And I didn't want to create. I've been here. I've been doing this type of work for 25 years. I've seen this fight over and over and over and over and over again. I've seen the same fight over and over again. It may have not been specific to Chumash or to Tongvas, but it's the same fight.
Orebilongo, there has always been a problem between Northern and Southern Indigenous.
Well, you know what? Kind of short on time.
Do you have any last words? Please.
Any last words before we let you go?
Please.
Oh, me?
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
I think that when it comes down to it, like, you can say that the LA means something to you, but then, like, wider society, like, it reads as LA natives, which interpreted as natives of LA, so it's like, it's just a slippery slope. And I think
if I use the word Los Angeles County natives, that would be very specific. But I didn't. And I don't want to use semantics. I don't want to be like, oh, wow, look at this little technical thing. I'm being very clear with my audience and you as a representation of an indigenous individual from the sacred land.
Right.
That I've renounced colonial names from the get-go of my career. LA to me did not mean Los Angeles. It meant Lost Aslan when I reclaimed my identity. When I created a platform that was going to be popularized, I said secretly, the L means lost, the A means Aslan. But I'm going to let everyone else make their own decision. So if you were of Chumash descent, you would be like, that represents me. And if you were from Compton and first generation, it's like Guatemalan, hey, that kind of represents me. It's a collective house where all natives are welcome to share their art, their opinion, and their talents. It's a big powwow.
But I think it's just my final point is that I see your vision, but there is a Tongva woman who's asking for that to be reconsidered. Mm-hmm. And so I just think this is not up to me, it's not up to, I think that there needs to be further discussion. Mm-hmm. And thanks for bringing me on. I appreciate, I'll try to keep an eye on it. Maybe I can come back again and we can keep talking because
I want to make something very clear.
You're actually part of our alumni now, and
I want to make something very clear, sister. You're always welcome on this show. You're always welcome on this show. You always you're one of the special ones that know the language.
Emiliano Pistolas, her opinion is respected.
Absolutely.
That's our community. We respect everybody.
Absolutely.
Thank you for joining us.
Much.
Right.
Thank you.
You know what, guys? It's been an amazing episode. Definitely a lot more to talk about. A lot more special guests are going to be coming in this Wednesday. I want to thank all of our new viewers tuning in. Subscribe to our website. If you like what you're listening to, purchase a t-shirt, support our message, support the podcast. June 25th at the Catch One, we have a dope hip-hop event coming up. Zero of El Vuh is going to be performing, plus way more dope indigenous hip-hop artists. Any last words, Zero?
Yes, I do have some last words. I want to say thank you to the chat who has an abundance of opinions. I want to say thank you for people who controlled themselves and let their anger go into and transform into love and respect for all of our people across Turtle Island, especially Jess. Sister, I'm sorry, I'm publicly going to say it again. but I did not mean for Al in LA natives to mean Los Angeles. Okay? It did not mean that. And I'll come on every show. Before I start, Armando, please remind me to make a disclaimer that the L in LA natives does not mean loss, and the A does not mean angels. Right?
Thank you, Women Warrior.
I'm on it.
Thank
Thank you for the chat, guys. Thank you for everyone tuning in this coming Wednesday discussions, open discussions, Warrior Think Tank, hosted by Zero of El Vuh. We appreciate the support. Thank you again.
Absolutely.